Howdy Sketchies, it's Megan of Hello North, and today I have something super awesome that I got to do. I did a line art exchange collaboration with Mia Vox of Mia Vox Arts. She is another artist here on YouTube, and she contacted me about doing a collaboration, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting, let's do it. So we decided to do a line art exchange. Basically, we both drew some line art and we sent it to each other and we colored it. But we wanted to do something a little bit different, so we chose a random prompt generating scheme that we came up with of 4 categories, and each one we randomly chose for each other. So her entire list was completely different from my list, and then we swapped prompts. So for me, she chose a amused male acrobat examining something, and I thought it was really awesome. So I pulled a lot of inspiration from Cirque du Soleil costumes and a comic book called Little Nemo in Slumberland. When I was, a couple weeks ago, I was on travel, and right before I left, I was so worried because I hadn't gotten her package yet, and I was really worried that I wasn't going to get it before I left. Thankfully, like literally 10 minutes before I pulled out of my driveway, this little beauty showed up in my mail box by the postman, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank the Lord, because I was going to be gone for almost 2 weeks. So I was so glad, but at the same time, I was traveling and I couldn't take all of my art supplies with me, so I had to wait until I got back before I could even do any kind of art. So for hers, I pulled, I guess you could say, because it wasn't really a pick. We had to pull all of each category out of a hat. So she got a bubbly female guardian who was casting a spell / magic. She did fantastic coming up with a concept and character design for it, just because that was a pretty general and almost kind of specific prompt for her. So she did a fantastic job. I am loving her top that she did for the character. It reminds me of lotus flowers. If you notice while I'm doing the skin, it kind of looks a little streaky. If you are a Copic user, you probably have noticed that Copics are kind of hard to find right now, and they have been for almost a year. Ever since the coloring book craze has kind of come about, Copics, they're very hard to find, and the refills for them are even harder to find. You can't order the refills off of Copic's main site or like sites like Dick Blick, and a lot of art box stores do not sell the refills. So most of my skin tones don't have refills, and I kind of had to use quite a few of the lighter skin tones just so that way I could get that streakiness gone from the image. The color palette that I chose for this was almost kind of random as well. I had been playing around on Photoshop, and you can mess with the brush presets and kind of get it's the color selection slider, and you can pick a color for what you're using for your brush and then mess with this color slider, and it'll randomize the colors within like a certain range. And I was able to get this really nice, like earthy female color palette from it, and I really, really loved it. So when I saw Mia's illustration that she sent me, I knew that that is the color palette that I really wanted to use. Now, if you notice right here, I am using a blue Copic. For me, as my years as an artist have gone on, I've kind of gotten away from that idea that, like, for example, if you want to shade something, you use reds, like all like different shades of reds, different intensities of reds. But if you look in reality, shadows are not just gray. They're not just a darker version of that color. They come in blues and purples. I've even seen like some highlights that, you know, are greens and lighter blues. I mean, if you really want to get a deeper and more unique illustration, try messing with the different colors, and especially like the shadows and the highlights. You can get a darker and a more rich feeling to the illustration if, instead of just using a darker version of the color or a gray, try using a complementary color or a contrasting color, and it'll just intensify your illustration. Because I love colored hair, my hair is not pink right now, so I felt like somebody needed some pink hair, and her hair just really needed some bright fun colors, so that's why I chose pink. And here I'm using that blue to kind of give it a little bit more of a richness to it. Now, I am really bad about doing glowing things with Copic markers because I actually don't own a lot of glowy colors. So the magic was a little bit difficult for me. Now, since I didn't want her top to be pretty much see-through, I added a little bit of color to kind of make it look like mesh or some kind of like sheer fabric. And then I went over it with a white pen because I still didn't like how that looked. Overall, I had a lot of fun doing this collaboration with Mia. You need to go over to her YouTube channel. She has got some really great videos, especially she has a lot of paint along videos where she kind of goes from start to finish on how to paint something, and most of it is not sped up, so you can really follow along nice and easy. Thanks to my patrons out there. If you didn't know, I have a Patreon, and you can go visit it and get some really cool stuff. Well, until next time, keep on sketching, guys.